Like my peers, like the minorities on campus at St. Thomas, and even my roommates, like white people, blah 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 blah, and they just don't understand, like they all white, like categories all white people. It was just, it was hard for me to like, because as like a broader thing, like I'm just like, oh my gosh, like here we are doing exactly what what you think they're doing to us. It was even harder because I'm like, my mom's white, she doesn't have these viewpoints, like she's not like that, like I mean, like she I mean, like my family's white, like not all white people are like this, and like, and people, I'm not talking to any white people on campus, and I'm like, well, I hope if you were to see my mom in the street, you'd say hi to her.
I don't think just, one or two people should ruin it for the rest of us.
But then again, I'm feeling like this anger towards whoever did this, and obviously it was assumed that it was a white person on campus.
Matthias lives off campus now, but the compromise to her safety won't be left behind.
For it to hit like so close to home, and like, well, like I lived at the dorm. That was my house. Like that's where I lived. So for it to hit home like there, it was just hard. Like it's like someone coming into my house and like throwing something in my face that I can't change.
So I feel like this is my first time making a smoothie, and so I probably put way more everything than is needed.
Bethany Kahn is minoring in social justice at the University of Minnesota. She participated in several social justice programs offered by the university, and through that experience, she found out what she hated the most.
I hate the term the race card. I've heard it so many times in my life. Why don't you just play the race card and get out of it? Oh, I can't believe that housing let you wear your nose ring because you're ethnic. Oh, that's just playing the race card. Like, there's like a rule that you have to take out your nose ring, and I was like, no, mine's a cultural thing. And they're like, okay, well, we can't tell you to take it out.
Kahn was working as an office assistant in the summer of 2007 when she was approached by staff about her nose ring.
Because they said that we'll be interacting with lots of cultures and lots of different people of all kinds of backgrounds, so we don't want to offend anyone. And I thought, who are you thinking about offending? Because almost every culture other than America, a nose ring is considered, like, I actually only know about like African, Middle Eastern, Asian cultures. It's considered a thing of beauty, or it's like totally normal. But in America, when I got a nose ring, people thought, Bethany, you're so rebellious, or I didn't know you were that type to get a nose ring. And I'm just thinking, everyone in India has a nose ring.
I like these. These are kusas, like typical Arab like shoe. Just the way it's shaped.
Years earlier, Kahn dealt with a bigger issue than her nose ring regarding her Arabic and Indian heritage.
When I think Americans, especially white Americans, have used people who are biracial or multiracial as I am, they've made it something exotic, and they'll say, like, what's your ethnicity? And I'll tell them, like, oh, that's so cool. After 9/11, people were not saying, oh, that's so cool. They were telling my mom to go back to where she was from. They were telling my family to go back to our motherland. They were checking us at the airport all the time. They were calling the FBI on my family. They were not exoticizing us as they are now. I'm very wary because I know that it changes and comes and goes, and depending on the world's climate, what's exotic changes.
I think multiracial people are really standing up for themselves and saying, like, I'm not just one race, I need to identify as more. And I think that in itself is opening doors for other people of other races.
Whenever it's race relations, black and white come to my mind. But then when I watch something about race and it's black and white, I get really frustrated because obviously race is much more than black and white. There are other colors of the spectrum.
It's kind of evolving our world in a way, especially in America, because America was so, like, a while back, it was so either you're this or you're that.
There's such a pressure in America to put you in a box, like if it's race, if it's gender, like socioeconomic background, like you are put into this category.
There are so many people that are made up of different ethnicities, and to have like this narrow-minded view of them, you're missing out on a lot of, good people.
You are put into the category by society, and by doing that, you have to act a certain way, you have to dress a certain way, you have to do all of these things, and there's such a pressure, and it's awful.
Americans will realize that there is no such thing as like white and black and Asian.
You're kind of in a whole new box, you know what I mean? You can't push someone to one side or the other because you're both.
In light, I think that race is not just a this or that anymore. I think it's more of a, you have, instead of just having green and blue, you have green, red, blue, yellow, purple. You have all the colors together.
In a way, the minorities are becoming a majority almost, because there's just a huge melting pot of, you know, different people.
I think that's probably why I grew up the way I did, why I don't feel like it's an issue or it's a problem, is because so many people around me are so different.
We're at a time as like a country, as like, you know, to, or we can like start blurring lines, you know, but it's going to take a couple actions to do that.
People don't talk about race enough, and whenever, usually it's me, who brings it up at a very obvious time in a class discussion or in a debate, people will just be like, oh, yeah, she brought up race again, or she brought up race, you know, it's kind of awkward. I'm white, I don't know anything about it, I'll just shut down.
It's sort of a, like a 2 step forward, 1 step back kind of thing. I mean, we are making progress, but I still see around me a lot of, you know, ignorance, and I don't know how we can do that, you know, how we can change that. I think we should.
Really, I mean, I don't understand why there's such an emphasis on, like, being in this mold.
I think people, when they don't want to talk about race and they shut down, it's so completely unproductive. Because I'll talk to my friends and they'll say something and I'll want to say something back, but I knew as soon as I bring up anything to do with race, they will shut down and stop talking, change the subject, and we just don't go anywhere.
All of my biracial friends are just finding it easier just to just hang out with the black people, because that's what's just accepting us more, when we probably all had white friends growing up, and now we don't have any.
And I feel like, okay, we need to involve, you know, other people, so we'll do it for a week just to say we did, and then we'll go back to our regular curriculum.
Sometimes I'll just feel completely alone, like I can't talk to anybody because no one will understand, or I'll just talk and rant and rave or about something, and white people will think that I'm just making them feel guilty.
It goes like both ways. Like when we go to like a white party, they'll be like, "Oh, what's this black girl doing here?" But then like in certain things, like some of my black friends, like my best friend who is African, will say like, "It's because you're half white, like that's why." Like, and you're like, "No."
I guess it just goes back to the American pressure of putting people into boxes.
I've reached this stage in my life where I'm really past babysitting white folks and their guilt. Before, I used to be very, I'll teach you about white privilege, and I'll hold your hands and walk you through the steps and put myself out there. But now I'm not. Now I'm just like, what? You don't know you don't have white privilege?
I don't know, but I know it's going to take like one person to take that step and just go join the club or go do the thing or go to a white party and just try to make themselves comfortable. But it's a hard thing to do, and you gotta have some strength to do it, and I guess I haven't found that strength to do it yet.
I feel like if you're confident in what you're saying, that people are going to be confident in, you know, you. And so I am very strong-minded and very strong opinionated, and I mean, I just come off and say it how it is.
A lot of it has to do with education, I think. And I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why I'm going into education, is to educate our children. If you start them young, I think they'll become more open-minded as they grow up, because a lot of their ideas they're getting from their parents and or from school, because school is a huge part of their life.
I had a guy in my class, actually, in my race relations class, who he was originally from some country, and like, let's just say there was like a derogatory word that we use in our everyday language towards that country that I never knew, and like, me understanding my racial heritage and knowing that I wouldn't want people to say certain words, I really understood him. And just looking at him, I would say, okay, you're white. But no, really, he had something deeper that he was connected to. And it was more so of a beautiful thing for me to realize, you know, and understand his thought process and his feelings with people using that word.
I'm going into teaching, and as a teacher, I'm not going to look at a kid and be like, okay, you're Mexican, so I'm going to treat you like this. No, that's not how I am going to do that, and that's not how I will ever be.
You can't miss the fact that someone's like white, black, Asian. You can't miss that kind of stuff, but it really doesn't